Good morning, everyone. My name is ELENA. I'm the Executive Director of the Eviction Defense Network. Buenos días a todos. Soy la directora ejecutiva de la Red de Defensa de Desalojos. Welcome to our webinar on the eviction process. Bienvenidos a nuestro webinar sobre el proceso de desalojos. I am going to do a 15-minute presentation this morning. Voy a hacer una presentación de 15 minutos esta mañana. And then we are going to record our questions and answers. Vamos a grabar nuestras preguntas y respuestas. Everyone who is here only with a first name on their screen, and their videos are going to go off. Todos los que están aquí nada más tienen su primer nombre en la pantalla. Sus videos se van a apagar. And they're not going to talk about their cases. They're going to talk about a friend of mine, a tenant got this notice. Un amigo, un inquilino recibió esta notificación. So we can use those examples to educate everyone, para poder usar esos ejemplos para educar a todos. The Eviction Defense Network is a nonprofit organization in Los Angeles. La Red de Defensa de Desalojos es una organización sin fines de lucro en Los Ángeles. And I want to start by acknowledging that I know you're stressed out. Quiero empezar en reconociendo que están estresados. Moving, and that doesn't mean involuntarily moving, just moving is the third most stressful experience you will have. Mudanza, la mudanza, y no una forzada, sino nada más la mudanza es una de las tres más, es tres de las 5 más estresantes experiencias que van a tener en sus vidas. But you have to learn to control your stress. Necesitan aprender a controlar su nivel de estrés. Why? Because if you don't, then you can't pay attention, you can't follow instructions, you will make mistakes. Si no controlan su estrés, van a cometer errores, no pueden escuchar, no pueden seguir instrucciones. I had an example of this just this week. Tuve un ejemplo esta semana. A young man who had attended maybe 1 or 2 of these webinars had very specific instructions for court. Un joven que había venido a estas seminarias tenía muy específicas instrucciones para la corte. But he got nervous. Se puso nervioso. And at the end, he started signing a piece of paper. He ended up signing an agreement. Terminó firmando un acuerdo. And he did it against my advice, contra mis consejos. I didn't even get a chance to look at it. Ni siquiera tuve chance de verlo because he felt pressured by the judge and the landlord's attorney. Se sentía presionado por el juez y el abogado del dueño. He didn't need to feel pressured. No necesitaba sentirse presionado. He had a great case. Tenía un buen caso, and that case was not going to go to trial yesterday. En ese caso no iba a ir a juicio ayer. And now we don't even know. He hasn't even sent it to us, I think. I'm not sure why. Ni siquiera nos lo ha mandado y no sé por qué. Don't let that happen to you. No dejen que eso les pase. Come here and come here regularly. This is not a one-off event. Vengan y vengan aquí regularmente. We are here every Saturday. Estamos aquí todos los sábados. We're here at 9 and we're here at 1. A las 9 y a la 1. We also have opportunities for you to meet with me on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. También el lunes, martes y el miércoles. And those will go up on the chat right now. Eso los vamos a poner en el chat, and they're also on the screen on the video, and you'll see when those sessions are. Los van a ver en la pantalla también, van a ver cuándo son esas sesiones. And we have this really pretty amazing support group on Friday nights for tenants, and run by tenants. It's a place for you to really get more bolstered. También tenemos un grupo de apoyo los viernes en la noche. Es una oportunidad para que de veras se pongan más fuertes. If you participate in these activities, you will come out of this a victor instead of a victim. Si participan en estas actividades, van a salir de esto como alguien victorioso en vez de ser una víctima. The reason that landlords are so hot to evict tenants is because they can get a lot more for your unit than when you moved in. Housing prices have been on the rise. El precio de vivienda ha estado aumentando. And we were also expecting a tsunami of evictions due to the pandemic. También esperábamos un tsunami de desalojos debido a la pandemia. We didn't ever get the tsunami. La tsunami nunca llegó because we got all these laws passed that created a safety net. Una bola de leyes creó un red de amparo. But it's a safety net that looks more like this. Es un red de amparo que es más como este. Has holes in it. Tiene huecos. If you are here and if you come regularly, you will be one of these people safely on the net. Si están aquí y vienen regularmente, van a ser una de estas personas que están seguramente en la red. If you don't, you will fall through the protections. Si no, van a caerse y no van a ser protegidos. We're still in the middle of a health crisis, an economic crisis. Nearly 500,000 LA County households were not able to pay some or all of their rent because of the protections. And so it is harder to get into court. Harassment by landlords skyrocketed, as did illegal lockouts. The laws are confusing. And so people are always, there's a moratorium. There's never been a moratorium. Has the moratorium ended? There's never been a moratorium. There's laws that protect you and they change and they expire and then they're renewed. There's never been a moratorium. You can learn about those laws at the 1 o'clock seminar. And there is not enough legal assistance. So in Spanish, estamos en medio de una crisis de salud, una crisis económica. Casi medio millón de hogares no han podido pagar parte o toda su renta en la pandemia. Y a raíces de todas las protecciones legales que tenemos contra desalojo, el hostigamiento por medio de dueños ha incrementado tremendamente y también los bloqueos ilegales. Las leyes son una confusión tremenda. Gente piensa que hay una moratoria, nunca ha habido una moratoria. Hay leyes que los protegen, pero no es una moratoria. Se vencen, se renovan, se cancelan, se cambian. Así es que hay mucha confusión sobre las leyes y no hay suficiente asistencia legal. Let me focus a little bit on this not enough legal assistance. Enfocándome un poquito en el hecho de que no hay suficiente ayuda legal. There are about 60 eviction lawyers in LA County, más o menos 60 abogados haciendo este trabajo. And there are nearly 500,000 or more than 500,000 people needing help. Y más de medio millón personas necesitando ayuda. And so that's why you need to become educated. Por eso ustedes se tienen que educar. You need to be informed. Se tienen que informar. You need to know the laws yourself. Necesitan saber las leyes ustedes mismos. You need to know where to get help at any given time in the process. Necesitan saber dónde acudir ayuda en todos los niveles del proceso. You need to understand the process. Necesitan entender el proceso. You need to understand the names of the documents you will be receiving. Necesitan entender los nombres de los documentos que van a recibir. People will call. I have a 5-day eviction notice. Tengo una nota de 5 días de desalojo. I have no idea what that is. No sé lo que es eso. That could be at the very beginning of the process, in the middle of the process, or at the very end of the process. Eso puede ser al principio, en medio, o al final, que reciben una nota de 5 días. So you have to be able to read the notice, know the title, and know what it is. Necesitan leer la notificación, conocer identificar el título, y saber lo que es, okay? The more information you have, the more powerful you will be. La más información que tienen, lo más poderoso que van a ser. The more you know about the process, the less scared you will be. Lo más que entienden el proceso, menos miedo. And I know it's hard. Sé que es difícil. It's hard for English speakers. It's hard for Spanish speakers. Es difícil para los que hablan inglés y es difícil para los que no solamente hablan español. But the other day at a webinar, a man who has been a regular attendee on Tuesdays for a long time, I came in a little late and he was explaining it to people. Entré un poquito tarde y este señor que estaba asistiendo lo estaba explicando al resto del grupo. It made me so happy and proud. Tan contenta y tan orgullosa que lo podía explicar, that he could explain it. Because if he can explain it, he also understands it. Si lo puede explicar, también lo entiende. And people sometimes tell me, well, how many webinars do I need to go to? And the answer is you need to come to as many as you need to come to until you can teach them. Necesitan venir a todas las que son necesarias para que ustedes puedan enseñar. Okay. If you come to the webinars, si vienen a los webinars, then you are helping us with this shortage of resources and attorneys. Nos están ayudando si vienen y se informan con el hecho de que no tenemos suficientes abogados, because you will need less of our time to help. Necesitan menos de nuestro tiempo para ayudar. Many of you have my cell phone number. Muchos tienen mi celular. The reason that you have my cell phone number is that when I staff the lockout hotline calls come into my cell phone. Cuando yo estoy manejando la línea de emergencia, las llamadas vienen a mi celular. You get a response from me and it comes from my cell phone. La respuesta viene de mi celular. You cannot use that cell phone for non-emergencies. No pueden usar ese celular para no emergencias. If you have a question, if you have a problem, if you have a new notice, you need to come back to a webinar. Si tienen una pregunta, reciben una nota nueva, cualquier cosa, necesitan regresar a un webinar. What people don't understand is that the smallest innocuous little question has to be logged somewhere. And so you asked a question, it took me 0.25 minutes to, like 30 seconds to answer it, but now I've got to spend 2 minutes finding your record and logging it. And when you multiply that by all the people that do it all day long, it takes time away from my ability to help other people. And that goes for all my staff. Para todo el personal que está haciendo esto, si ustedes usan un celular para hacer una preguntita más, no es nada más la preguntita más. Necesitamos documentar esa preguntita y eso toma tiempo. A lo menos 6 minutos cada vez que alguien hace una pregunta. Y cuando lo hace mucha gente, entonces nos quita tiempo de veras poder ayudar. Así es que si tienen otra pregunta, necesitan regresar a un webinar. The cell phone, el celular, is used exclusively for emergencies. Es para emergencias. Or if we need something from you. O si nosotros necesitamos algo de ustedes. The Eviction Defense Network is part of the Right to Counsel Coalition. Somos parte de esta coalición que estamos luchando para el derecho a un abogado. We are fighting for a statutory right to a lawyer when you are facing eviction. You don't have that right now. Estamos luchando por un derecho por ley a un abogado si están desalojando, like the Public Defender's Office, como la Oficina de los Defensores Públicos. If they're evicting you, they have to give you a lawyer. Otherwise, there can't be a court case. Si los están desalojando, tienen que darles un abogado o no puede ver un caso de corte. We are not there yet. No estamos ahí. We have gotten during the pandemic money from the county and the city. Sí hemos recibido dinero del condado y de la ciudad durante la pandemia. So, in order for you to get help from us, para recibir ayuda de nosotros, you need to go here to stayhousedla.org. Necesitan ir a quedarencasa.com and hit get legal help y enlazarse aquí en obtenga asistencia legal. If you do that, you will be asked to fill out a questionnaire, llenan un cuestionario, and as soon as you hit submit, you will get an email with the names of the 2 agencies assigned to assist you. Apenas entregan el formulario, reciben un correo electrónico con los nombres de las personas, las 2 agencias que les van a ayudar. That does not mean they're going to retain you and assign a lawyer. No quiere decir que van a abrir el caso y asignar un abogado. Sometimes that help is counsel and advice. Sometimes it's filling out an answer. Sometimes it's providing a lawyer. A veces la ayuda es consejos o llenar una respuesta para la demanda o a veces es ayuda legal completa. It depends on a lot of factors. Dependen muchos factores. If you do this and you are not, and they don't open your case completely, or even if they do open a case and assign you a lawyer, después de hacer esto, especialmente si no abren el caso, you can keep coming back to these webinars. Pueden seguir regresando a estos webinars so that you can continue to learn, para continuar a aprender, so that you can so that you'll be informed in what the process is, para estar informados en el proceso. I encourage you to join your tenants union. The largest one in Los Angeles County is the Los Angeles Tenants Union. La más grande en el condado de Los Ángeles es la del sindicato de inquilinos de la ciudad de Los Ángeles, but there's one in Pasadena, Glendale, Burbank, Pomona. There are tenant unions just about everywhere in LA County. Hay sindicatos casi por todos los lados en el condado de Los Ángeles. You should also join the Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment. También enlácense o sean miembros de la Alianza Comunitaria para el Empoderamiento de la Comunidad, or Tenants Together, o Tenants Together. These are statewide organizations. Son dos organizaciones al nivel estatal that not only help their members, que ayudan a sus miembros, but they also fight for stronger laws. También luchan para leyes más fuertes. These are the EDN webinars. Estos son los webinars de EDN. So on Tuesdays at 6, Thursdays at 5. Actually, we're not very involved in this one. Other volunteer attorneys are doing this one, but it is where the English speakers should go. Nosotros ya no estamos tan involucrados en esta, pero es donde las personas que hablan inglés deben de ir. Saturday at 1, Saturday at 9. You can also do Mondays and Wednesdays at 6 p.m. And we have the support group for tenants on Friday at 6 p.m. Please avail yourself of all of these opportunities. Por favor, usen todas estas oportunidades. I'm going to skip this one because right now the only way to get help from us is to go through Stay Housed LA. Ahorita la única manera de obtener ayuda de nosotros es ir a stayhousedla.org. The reason for that is that we are not opening cases right now. La razón es que no estamos abriendo casos ahorita. And I want you to at least have the opportunity to get to an agency that might open your case. Quiero que tengan una oportunidad de enlazarse con una organización que quizás abran su caso. And if they do not, please come back to these webinars. Si no, regresen a los webinars. We will give you what you need. Les vamos a dar lo que necesitan, la información que necesitan, the information you need to survive each step of the process, para sobrevivir cada paso del proceso. So this is the eviction process. Ese es el proceso de desalojo. It starts with a notice. Empieza con una nota. It could be any number of days and it could demand that you do any number of things. Puede ser cualquier cantidad de días y puede ser una demanda que hagan cualquier cosa. Pay the rent in 3 days or in 15, paguen la renta en 3 días o en 15 or any other amount of time o cualquier otra cantidad de tiempo, or just leave in 3 days, leave in 30 days, leave in 60 days, o sálganse en 3 días, o sálganse en 30, o sálganse en 60, or any number of days. Or get rid of the dog you're not supposed to have in 3 days, o desháganse del perro que no deben de tener en 3 días. All kinds of notices, muchos tipos de notificaciones. If you do not do what that notice says in the number of days, legally, the only thing the landlord can do is file a complaint for unlawful detainer, which just means eviction, with the court. Si no hacen lo que dice la nota en 3 días, legalmente lo único que puede hacer el dueño es archivar la demanda de desalojo en la corte. The court will give a summons. La corte le da la citación judicial. You have 5 working days to answer. Tienen 5 días hábiles para contestar. And then that sets off this entire process. Y ahí viene todo este proceso, which pre-pandemic was taking 8 months if you had a lawyer. Que antes de la pandemia se dilataba el proceso de aquí a acá, no, 8 meses. Por un promedio de 8 meses. During the pandemic, that's been much longer. Durante la pandemia ha sido muy largo. If you do not answer, si no contestan, then you get directly to a notice from the sheriff. Llegan directamente a una notificación del alguacil. It is a 5-day notice to vacate from the sheriff. So don't call and say, I have a 5-day notice. You have a 5-day notice to do what or leave. Tienen una nota de 5 días de hacer algo que o salirse, or the summons and complaint have a 5-day deadline. La queja de desalojo tiene un plazo de 5 días, or I have a 5-day notice to vacate from the sheriff. O tengo una nota de 5 días para salirme del alguacil. There are at least, I don't know, 5 of you on here that have this notice, and the notice expires, either it's expired or expires Monday or it expires Tuesday. Que la nota se vence, ya se ha vencido, se vence hoy o se vence el martes. I tried to work with all of you to get you assessed on Friday. Traté de trabajar con todos ustedes para poder hacer un assessment de qué podemos hacer. But honest to God, most of you would just give me a hard time and not answering my questions. La mayor parte, en vez de contestar mis preguntas, me estaban dando lata. And so I didn't get through most of you. No logré hacer el análisis para la mayor parte de ustedes because I was also dealing, there were a total of 13 of you. I think it was, the rest were illegal lockouts. El resto eran bloqueos ilegales. There's a student and America are both here. And if we can identify, if you put in the chat your name, your address, your telephone number, your name, your address, your telephone number, your email address. And can somebody put the little template on the chat, please? Your email address, and I have a 5-day notice to vacate from the sheriff that expires on X date. I will give you priority so that we can at least assess the case. Les voy a dar prioridad para poder hacer un assessment del caso. I want to talk a little, I usually don't like to spend time on this, but there's so many of you and I don't know how we even do the assessments if I don't spend time on this. No me gusta invertir tiempo aquí. I want to be on this side of the equation. Quiero estar en este lado del dibujo, not on this side, no en este lado, but because there are so many of you here with that, porque tengo tanta gente aquí con esto, I'm going to spend some time on it today. Voy a invertir algo de tiempo en esto hoy. If you got the summons and complaint, si recibieron la queja de desalojo, and you just sat on it because you were overwhelmed, y nada más lo ignoraron porque estaban just completamente no sé cómo se dice overwhelmed, pero no lo podían manejar. But that's all. You are not going to win. No van a ganar. The judges are very unsympathetic about that. Los jueces no tienen mucha simpatía sobre eso. If you got it, si lo recibieron, and you didn't answer y no contestaron, it needs to be because you were sick, porque estaban enfermos, or you have a mental illness o tienen una discapacidad mental, or you are completely illiterate in English and Spanish y no pueden leer ni inglés o español. There has to be something other than I got it, I put it down and then I didn't know what to do, so I didn't do nothing. No puede ser lo recibí y no sabía qué hacer, así es que hice nada. And what also isn't working, which should work, is I thought I didn't need to do anything about it because I thought there was a moratorium. Pensé que no necesitaba hacer nada porque había una moratoria. There's been a 68% increase in people who go on this route since before the pandemic. Hay un incremento de 68% de gente que lo ignora porque pensaban que había, and most of them say they ignore it, they did nothing because they thought there was a moratorium. La mayor parte de esos 68% dice no hice nada porque pensaba que había una moratoria. So you would think the judges would think, wow, if 68% of the people think that, then that's using a reasonable person standard, then that must be a valid reason for not having answered. Para mí, el hecho de que tanta persona está tan confundida, eso es una razón legítima por no haber contestado, but it those cases we have not won. Esos casos no hemos ganado. So when we have so many of you in this situation, cuando tenemos tantos de ustedes en esta situación, what we do is we look at whether or not we can win for starters. La primera parte del análisis, ¿vale la pena tratar porque vamos a ganar? Is it worth it to try because we're going to win? And if the answer is no, then we're going to reject you. Si la respuesta es no, los vamos a rechazar. And if we reject you, then none of the other 10 agencies are going to take you because we're the crazy people that take almost everyone. Y si nosotros los rechazamos, ninguna de las otras 10 agencias va a hacerlo porque nosotros somos los más chiflados que toma casi todos los casos. So, it's hard to give people that news. Es difícil dar esa noticias, but it is kinder than spending 3 days trying to do the impossible and that instead of having you pack and figure out what you're going to do. Es peor darles esperanzas falsas. It's worse to give you false hopes que enfrentar el problema y desarrollar un plan para salirse. It is kinder and better for us, instead of giving you false hopes, to get you to grapple with the reality of it and develop a plan so that you won't be caught off guard by the sheriff. Desarrollar un plan para que no les caiga el sheriff y no estén preparados. That plan includes, number 1, packing and sorting. Empacar y surtir. You want to separate all of your things into valuables. There's 3 categories: give away, throw away, and keep. Hay 3 categorías: regalar, botar, y quedarme. And in the keep category, en la categoría de que todavía quieren estas cosas, there's things that are not valuable and that are bigger and bulkier. So you want to pack those up, because if we are not successful, after you are locked out, you're going to have 15 days, but 1 4-hour period in 15 days to get your stuff out. Si no hay éxito en esto, van a tener un periodo de 4 días en los próximos 15 días para sacar sus cosas. So you have to be packed. Necesitan estar empacadas. It means you clear out one room and put the throwaways and the giveaways. En un cuarto, echan todo lo que van a regalar o botar. And then you start putting in bags and boxes all lined up in one room, preferably the living room, all the things you want to keep. Y luego en cajas o bolsas, todas las cosas que quieren, que quieren quedarse. And you want to take pictures. When you pack a box, you take a picture. Pack a box, take a picture of the inside. Toman fotos de lo que está dentro antes de sellar la caja. And then you want to take with you and put in your car and be ready for the sheriff all of your valuables, irreplaceables, items of sentimental value, medicines, important documents, and clothing and toiletries for 2 weeks. Necesitan ya poner en el carro o tenerlos por la puerta. You either need them in the car or by the door. Las cosas valuables de dinero, valor sentimental, los medicamentos, los papeles importantes, valuables, irreplaceable things of sentimental value, y todas las, pasta de dientes, jabón, lo que necesitan, toiletries, y ropa para 2 semanas. That you need to be able to take with you. Eso lo necesitan poder sacar. The sheriff will give you between 1 minute and 15 minutes. El alguacil les va a dar dentro de 1 minuto a 15 minutos. And quite honestly, in my view, it depends on gender, race, and age, dependiendo en edad, género, y raza. If you are a person of color, you get less time. Si son personas de color, menos tiempo. If you're white, you'll get more time. Si son blancos, más tiempo, because racism is very real in this country. El racismo es muy real en este país. They are more patient with older people, más pacientes con gente anciana. But I have seen them put an elderly woman on a respirator, on an oxygen tank on the street in a wheelchair. he visto que saquen una mujer anciana con un tanque de oxígeno en silla de ruedas y la pusieron en la calle. And then we did get a call that we should go help her after they put her out. Llamaron para que vayamos a ayudarle después de que la pusieron en la calle. There is no heart in the sheriff's office. Aquí no hay nada de corazón, okay? So you have to be prepared. Necesitan estar preparados, okay? So the other important points here are that throughout the process, we can negotiate. Por todo el proceso, podemos negociar. And today, I am going to put the stipulation. So I learn a lesson every week from you all. Cada semana aprendo algo. This young man who made a deal without us this week, man, you can tell it's bothering me, right? Este joven que hizo un trato esta semana sin, yo le decía, no lo firmes, no lo hagas, déjame verlo, hay que escribirlo. I kept telling him, don't sign it, let me look at it. It might not be enforceable, but no, he signed it, lo firmó. So I am going to arm people with the form, our form, that one of the things that we are going to start doing is teaching people how to fill out this negotiation form on their own. And that's because if you decide, okay, I thought I wanted to fight, but it's too much pressure, I want to give up here in court, and they're offering me something I can live with, you at least have the right form. And this is the form, and we are going to put it in the chat. Este es el formulario y lo vamos a poner en el chat. It has two pieces to it. Tiene dos partes. The first one is a court form. El primero es un formulario de corte. And so you put in the court address, the landlord's name as it appears in the complaint, your name as it appears in the complaint. Ponen la dirección de la corte, en la dirección del demandante, del demandado, tal como aparecen en los papeles que ya han recibido, case number, and the department that you are in of the court. Número de caso, el departamento. This form says that the record right now, your evictions, if you're in eviction, are sealed. That means no one can find out about it. It can't affect your ability to rent. Están sellados los casos cuando se archivan para proteger el hecho de que es importante para ustedes no tener un récord en su, whoops. It says that the record is to remain sealed. Evictions are sealed when they are filed. Aquí dice que se va a mantener sellado el récord. Los desalojos están sellados cuando se archivan. And they will stay sealed as long as you don't lose within the first 60 days. Se mantienen sellados con que no pierdan el caso entre los primeros 60 días. This wording here assures that it stays sealed, and the judge will sign a special order to make sure it stays sealed. Si se pone esto aquí, el juez firma una orden especial para asegurar que se mantenga sellado el record. But the landlord needs a guarantee you're really going to get out. El dueño necesita una garantía que de veras, oh, Max. Jack, stop. Sorry. That's Jack, who is upset that the owner needs a guarantee. El dueño necesita una garantía que se van a salir. The owner needs a guarantee that you are going to get out on time. And so by putting here that you are losing today, vamos a poner aquí que van a perder hoy, so that they can get the sheriff to lock you out if you don't move on time, para que ellos puedan lograr que el sheriff los eche si no se salen a tiempo. Okay? And so that sounds scary. Eso puede ocasionar algo de ansiedad, but the record is sealed. So no one's going to know except you and the landlord and the lawyers. Nadie va a saber, con la excepción de ustedes, el dueño y los abogados. We fight hard. You don't owe any money. But you are agreeing, you are not going to owe any money, but you are agreeing to give up the place and you're agreeing to move. If you have a deposit and they are agreeing that you're not going to owe all the rent that you haven't paid, they're also going to want to keep the deposit. Si tienen un depósito y se están poniendo de acuerdo que no van a deber nada de este dinero, también van a querer que quedarse con el depósito. Then here, you're going to put that you're going to move by what date. We usually put at midnight. And then we're going to choose this second box that says that if you don't get out, the sheriff puts you out the day after. Así es que aquí van a acordar que se van a salir X día. Nosotros ponemos a la medianoche. Y aquí se va a poner que si no se salen a tiempo, el alguacil puede echarlos el día siguiente. The second page of this form says nothing. La segunda página de este formulario no dice nada. It just says, see attachment A. Nada más dice, vean el A. And then what that attachment does, it actually should say insert, but that's okay. It has said attachment A for many centuries and nobody ever noticed. Okay, so this is the insert of that court form. Este es lo que explica ese formulario. It again explains clearly that this is going to be a sealed record even if you do not do your part in this agreement. Se va a mantener sellado aunque el inquilino no cumpla con su acuerdo. Why? Because if you don't do your part, the sheriff's just going to kick you out anyways. Porque si no hacen su parte, el alguacil los va a echar de todos modos. Then it says that you don't have to do anything in particular to show you moved out. No tienen que hacer nada en particular para comprobar que salieron a tiempo. Why? Because I don't want a he said, she said fight about whether you moved out on time. No quiero tener que dicen que sí, dicen que no. You don't have to do anything. But if you do move out on time, si se salen a tiempo, we're going to come back to court, vamos a regresar a corte, and the judgment against you will be taken away. Se va a borrar el hecho de que perdieron hoy, and you're going to get a dismissal. Y van a descartar o cancelar el caso. Does that matter a lot? ¿Importa mucho? Not really. En realidad no, because the record is sealed anyways, porque el récord está sellado de todas maneras. But I will tell you that America, who is here today, was training someone many years ago, estaba entrenando a alguien hace muchos años, showing them how we can tell whether a record is sealed, mostrándole cómo podemos ver si un record está sellado. And she comes running into my office and she goes, there's a bunch of unsealed records that should be sealed. Hay una ola de records abiertos que deben estar sellados. It turns out that the court was upgrading its computer system and someone pushed a couple of wrong buttons and every eviction unsealed. And if it wasn't for America having discovered it on the day that it happened, they would have been unsealed for a really long time. Y si no hubiera sido por América que descubrió el error el día que pasó, hubieran estado abiertos por mucho tiempo. And once a credit reporting agency picks it up, we can seal it again, but it's still showing on your record because it's hard to seal the credit reporting agency's record. Ya que lo recoge una agencia de crédito, podemos sellarlo de la corte, pero está ya en el aire. It's already out in the air, in the universe. Very, very hard to get rid of it once it's out there. Muy difícil manejar eso ya que está afuera. So this is better. Esto es mejor to move out on time and then we open it up again. Se mueven a tiempo y se mueven a tiempo y luego lo podemos abrir. You cannot, though, get any other extensions. And these are all the possible ways that you can get extension. Aquí están todas las posibles maneras de lograr extensiones. If you sign an agreement, it's pretty much in stone. Si firman un acuerdo, es un hecho. And so we have tried going back. Hemos tratado de lograr más tiempo. And I would say 99 out of 100 cases, or maybe 999 out of 1,000 cases, they say no. It's impossible to get more time. This just makes it clear you're not going to get more time. Eso aclara que no va a haber más tiempo. You also are giving up your rights to an extra 15 days to get your stuff out. También están diciendo esos 15 días extra para sacar mis cosas, tampoco me lo dan. What you're doing by this agreement is both sides are getting certainty. Ambos lados lo que están comprando al firmar esto es la certitud de que esto se va a resolver como se va a resolver. Estamos acordando. And so we have given up a lot of your rights, but the landlord's also giving up a lot of their rights in order to make the agreement work. Ambos lados están regalando o dando muchos de sus derechos para que esto funcione, ¿ok? Así es que be sure, sean ciertos, that you can get out on time, que se pueden salir a tiempo, and that this is going to work for you. They are giving up any rent that you may owe. Ellos están disculpando cualquier renta. You're usually giving up your security deposit, but if they sue you for leaving the place a mess, then the security deposit is back in play. Ellos se quedan con el depósito, pero si los demandan por las condiciones, el depósito otra vez entra. Often landlords want to get the place ready for the next person. We say no to that. Quieren preparar el lugar para la próxima persona. Decimos no a eso. We are fighting for neutral references. They're never going to give you a positive one. No les van a dar una positiva referencia, but we are asking for neutral references, pidiendo referencias neutrales. This is, sometimes the landlord's not there and there's a fax signature, or you sign different copies of the agreement, or si se tienen que firmar diferentes copias del acuerdo. This paragraph is if you are getting money. Este párrafo es si van a recibir dinero. And this paragraph is that if somebody doesn't comply and you have to come back into court to enforce, and that's usually the landlord not paying the money, then the winner gets attorney's fees. Si el dueño no cumple, normalmente no da el dinero a tiempo, el que gana recibe cuotas de abogados, and this gives the court power to enforce. I am going to make a version of this that is for pro pers, in other words, for folks that are representing themselves, and make it available to you. Y ponerlo públicamente. This one isn't going to work for pro pers because we are in it too much. Nosotros estamos en esto demasiado. We need to take our name. The things have to be made out to you. We have to fix it. But once we give you one of these, ya que les demos unos de estos, if you're going to decide to just take a deal, even though before you went to court, you told me you were in a fight to win. Si van a aceptar un trato, aunque me habían dicho, vamos a luchar a ganar, but you get scared, or they offer you something that works for you, pero les da miedo, o les ofrecen algo que funciona para ustedes, use this form, usan este formulario, but do not let them change anything. No dejen que cambien nada. Why? Because every one of these factors, every one of these sentences is there for a reason. Cada uno de estas frases está ahí por alguna razón. Okay, so again, skipping that one. This is examples of all of the notices that are the first step. Ejemplos de todas las posibles notas que son el primer paso. Landlords pull them off the internet. They don't need to be signed, and they don't need an official stamp. Los dueños lo sacan del internet, no necesitan firma y no necesitan una estampa oficial. When you come to us, cuando vienen con nosotros, we ask you to choose a path. Les pedimos que escojan un camino. To the left is the I am going to fight for my unit, I am going to stay. A la izquierda, voy a luchar por mi vivienda, me voy a quedar. To the right is I'm willing to move, I just need enough time and money and saved rent so that I can move. Estoy dispuesta a salirme, necesito tiempo, how much time, dinero, how much money, renta disculpada, waived rent, forgiven rent, and a clean record, y un récord limpio. We let you choose, and then we look at your case. And these are the 16 factors that we consider. les dejamos escoger, vemos su caso y esos son los 16 factores que consideramos. And then we see whether you've chosen the right road. Luego vemos si han escogido la ruta correcta. Sometimes people have very strong cases and they have a very cheap rent and it's protected by rent control, but they want to move. A veces gente tiene baja renta, protección de control de renta y un buen caso, pero se quieren salir because they're sick and tired of the harassment, porque están hartos con el hostigamiento. We will try to convince you to stay. Vamos a tratar de convencerlos que se queden because it's very hard out there, porque es muy difícil encontrar. And the best way to convince you to stay is to put you on a housing search. La mejor manera es pedirlos que busquen vivienda. Then you see that it's very hard to find. Ven que es difícil encontrar and people then get bolstered to fight. Se ponen más fuertes para luchar ya que ven que es difícil encontrar. Sometimes people want to stay that really need to go because we can't win the case or because it's not that valuable or a protected unit. Se quieren quedar, pero en realidad debemos estar negociando la salida porque no está protegida la unidad o el caso no se puede ganar. So what we will do is figure out a way to get you comfortably on this path. Vamos a ver una manera de ponerlos en este camino, pero cómodamente, suavemente. Our priority is to keep people in their housing. Nuestra prioridad es salvar las viviendas, but sometimes that's really not possible. A veces no es posible, or not worth it, o no vale la pena, or there's too much risk in going to trial, mucho riesgo en ir a juicio. These are the factors we consider, los factores, the value of the unit, how cheap is the rent, is it protected by a law that allows you to stay, está protegida por una ley que les permite que se queden, can we win, do you have the evidence, is the law on your side, podemos ganar, la ley está a su lado, tienen la evidencia, is there other leverage that we can use, hay otras palancas que podemos usar. What are your finances? ¿Cuáles son sus finanzas? If you are a disabled person on government benefits, they can't collect from you anyways, so we might be able to take more chances. Si son discapacitados, tienen beneficios del gobierno, no pueden colectar una deuda de ustedes, luchamos, podemos tomar más riesgos. If you don't have a social security number and you're paid under the table, we can take more chances. Si no tienen número de seguro social y les pagan bajo la mesa, podemos tomar más chances. What are we risking? Is there a good offer on the table? Hay una buena oferta en la mesa. Who are the players? ¿Quiénes son los que están jugando? Who's the judge? ¿Quién es el juez? Who are the jurors going to be? ¿Quiénes van a ser los jurados? Are we in a court where we're going to get a bunch of tenants like downtown? ¿Es una corte con muchos inquilinos como downtown? Or is it one of the outlying courts where most of the jurors are likely to be homeowners, if not landlords? O en una de las cortes en los alrededores de Los Ángeles, donde el jurado va a ser, si no dueños, si no landlords, van a ser dueños de casa. Who is your lawyer? ¿Quién es su abogado? How good is their lawyer? ¿Qué tan bueno es el abogado de ellos? And the most important factor in this is you. El factor más importante en esto es el inquilino. How informed are you? ¿Qué informado? How many webinars did you come to? ¿Cuántos webinarios vienen? Do you understand your case? ¿Entienden su caso? Are you properly dressed? Because you came to the webinars and you heard me say, no jeans, no t-shirts, no sweats, and you listened and you went business casual. Están bien vestidos casualmente, pero como que si van a una entrevista en una oficina, or are you dressed in sweats and a t-shirt and just really not well dressed at all? How are you going to testify? ¿Cómo van a testificar? Tenants have a tendency to tell their stories with a lot of emotion, and it's not usually positive emotion, con mucha emoción y normalmente no muy positiva la emoción. Either you're barking about it, you're yelling, and you're being really, really angry, or you're being whiny, or you're being indignant, and none of that plays well with the jury. O son enojones, o muy quejones, o con un tono indignante que luego me hizo esto y luego me hizo el otro, y eso no es agradable para el jurado. So if you're talking here and I say, watch your tone, it means I need you to start practicing as though you are testifying on the stand. Si están hablando aquí y les digo, aguas con su tono, eso quiere decir que no están hablando muy bien y necesito que empiecen a hablar bien. You notice that my presentation tone is a little pressed. Mi tono para presentar es un poquito apresurado. My tone in court is more like this. Mi tono en corte es más como este. Can you hear the difference? One is an emphasis tone. Uno es un tono enfático because I want to make sure I'm getting my points across. Aquí hay mucho, quiero estar seguro que me están escuchando. This is a tone that says, I want you to like me. Ese es un tono que dice, quiero que les caiga bien. I rule my life by the philosophy that what other people think of me is none of my business. Yo normalmente vivo mi vida, si no les agrado a la gente, no me importa, but I do care that juries like me. Sí quiero que los jurados, que les caiga bien. Why? Because if the jury likes me, my client has a better chance. Porque si le agrado al jurado, mi cliente tiene mayor chance. So watch your tone. And then the last thing is, can we win? We look at, we're always, the factors are changing, cosas cambian, siempre estamos viendo, podemos ganar. We're always looking at whether we can win. These are the laws that protect. If you want to know about them, you need to come to 1 o'clock. Estas son las leyes que protegen. Si quieren saber, vengan a la presentación de la 1. It is important that we use both the legal support and the organizing. Es importante que usemos apoyo legal y organizar para resolver estos casos. This is to give you a glimpse at the forms. This is para que vean los formularios. This is the summons. Es la citación judicial. It should be the paper when they serve you your eviction lawsuit. It's about 30 pages and this should be on top. Although lawyers are tricky and sometimes they don't put this on top. Eso debe de estar encima, pero a veces son medios transosos los abogados de los dueños y no ponen esto encima. But you look for this and it says very clearly, you have 5 days to answer. Tienen 5 días para contestar. Weekends and judicial holidays don't count. 5 días hábiles. A letter and phone call is not enough. Una carta o una llamada telefónica no es suficiente. Here are places where you can get help. Aquí pueden recibir ayuda, but you're going to go to, if you're in LA County, you're going to go to stayhousedla.org. That is a more direct route to help than this is a statewide system. Eso es a nivel estatal. En el condado de Los Ángeles, quedarencasa.com. And then a bunch of other stuff about getting help. So really, it's all right here. Lo que necesitan saber está aquí en estas líneas. But because it looks so dense and busy, people don't read it. Porque se ve tan denso y difícil, no lo leen, and then they don't file an answer. Y luego no archivan una respuesta. This is a paper that gets mailed to you. It's a courtesy notice warning you that the summons and complaint have been filed. Esta es una nota de cortesía, viene por correo. Es una advertencia que la queja de desalojo se ha archivado. It has 3 parts to it. Tiene 3 partes. People don't read this. La gente no lo lee. When I ask people, have you seen this? They'll say no, but I almost always find it in their papers. La gente dice que no lo tienen, pero casi siempre está en los papeles. And then when I show it to them, they, oh yeah, I saw that, but I thought it was for people with wheelchairs. Lo vi, pero pensaba que era para gente con silla de rueda. This is a very badly done form. Es muy mal hecho. The first part of it says, here's where you can get legal help. Almost all of these agencies are on Stay Housed LA. The easiest way to get to them instead of calling these numbers is go on stayhousedla.org. Todas estas son agencias de Stay Housed LA. Enlácense en stayhousedla.org en vez de andar llamando estos números. If you get assigned to BetSedec, then you can call them. Si les asignan a BetSedec, lo pueden llamar. If you get assigned to Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles, then you can call. Si les asignan a esta agencia, pueden llamar. This talks about disabled people and how they can get, it's not about wheelchairs. It's really about sign language interpreters and other accommodations. Es para acomodaciones para personas que tienen discapacidades. And this last part is about the record being sealed. Esta parte es que el record está sellado and explains what I said about the record being sealed. Explica lo que dije sobre el record sellado. Sometimes this is on top. A veces eso está encima del paquete. And that is directed at anyone who lives here, but whose name is not listed here. Dirigido a cualquier persona que vive aquí, pero cuyo nombre no está nombrado aquí. It's so that those people can get into the case and fight the case if they want to. Es para que esas personas puedan ingresarse al caso y luchar si quieren luchar. This is the complaint. This is the landlord's side of the story. La queja es el lado del dueño. This is the answer. This is your side of the story. La respuesta, su lado del historial. This is a request for you to lose automatically because you didn't file the answer. Este papel pide que pierdan automáticamente porque no contestaron. So people call this and they say, oh, I got an eviction paper. Well, which of the many? This would be called a request for entry of default. Este es una pedido para entrar mi fallo. The names of all the forms are at the bottom. At the bottom of every single form is the title. Al fondo de cada formulario es el título. So when I ask you, find the complaint, buscan la queja, you're looking for the word complaint and you'll notice it's one of 4. Son 4 páginas. If I ask you, find the prejudgment claim, you're looking, see the titles are all right there. Los títulos están al fondo. Okay. Summons, 1 of 2. It's a 2-page document. Citación judicial, 1 de 2. Es un documento de 2 páginas. Don't let yourself get overwhelmed by the paperwork. No dejen overwhelmed, América, look up that word. Que el papeleo los asuste tanto que
abrumen.
¿Cómo?
No se abrumen con tanto papeleo.
No se abrumen. Léanlo página por página. Vengan a los webinars. We will give you this sheet, which is a list of all the possible evidence you could use depending on what your case is about. Esta hoja dice toda la posible evidencia dependiendo de qué se trata su caso. We could use a Spanish version, America, if you could find it and text it so I can put it on in the slides. No puedo encontrar la versión en español. Si me la puedes encontrar y mandármela por texto entre semana, not right now, during the week. This is page 2 of that one, of that sheet, página 2 de la misma hoja. And this is a sheet that summarizes what I talked about, the importance of the evidence, how to reach we give this to people that we are working with. Se lo damos a las personas con quienes estamos trabajando, but it does tell you stuff about the trial and about testifying.
Oh my gosh.
De la audiencia y cómo testificar. Someone from one of the State House agencies came to this presentation a bit ago and reported that it doesn't really teach people how to do a trial, que no muestra cómo hacer un juicio. And my response to that, mi respuesta a eso is, I went to law school for 4 years and didn't learn how to do a trial in law school. Fui a la escuela de leyes por 4 años y no me enseñaron cómo hacer un juicio. We cannot teach you how to do a trial in these webinars. No podemos enseñarles cómo hacer un juicio en estos webinars. What we can do is teach you what you need to do at each of the appearances before the trial. Lo que podemos hacer es enseñarles qué hacer en cada vez que van a cortes antes de la audiencia. And people that are following our instructions are getting many continuances. Los que están siguiendo nuestras instrucciones están recibiendo continuaciones, fechas nuevas. Not because you're asking for a continuance, no porque están pidiendo una continuación, but because the other side is not quite sure what to do with you. El otro lado no sabe qué hacer con ustedes. If you're a tenant representing yourself and you're not informed and you don't have a script, si son un inquilino representándose a sí mismos y no son informados, no saben lo que decir, they will squash you like a bug. Los aplastan como una mosquita. And it's easy for it's also easy for the landlord attorneys to deal with lawyers that know what they're doing. Es también fácil manejar un abogado que saben, they don't squash us, but we all know the system, we know how the dance goes, sabemos el sistema, sabemos cómo bailar. There is nothing harder for a landlord attorney to deal with than a tenant that is educated and empowered and is not going to get squashed, but the landlord's attorneys aren't prepared for you, and that's where the continuances come in. Los abogados de los dueños no están preparados para el inquilino informado, que no nada más va a firmar cualquier papel. The tenant that's not going to just sign whatever paper they put in front of them. And so then, because of that, we're getting enough continuances that, frankly, we haven't lost a single person who has followed the instructions. No hemos perdido ni siquiera una persona que ha venido a estos talleres y siguido las instrucciones. We are trying to avoid the notice to vacate. This is a notice from the sheriff. Esa es la notificación del alguacil that gives you a final date to move out, la fecha final para salirse. They don't usually come the next day. Normalmente no vienen el día siguiente. It usually takes 3 or 4 or 5 more days after. Normalmente 3, 4, 5 días más. But you can't count on that. So you have to be ready the next day. No pueden contar con eso. Tienen que estar listos el siguiente día. They don't come out Saturdays and Sundays or Mondays. No vienen sábado, domingo o lunes. In all my years, I've only seen an eviction on a Monday. Once en todos mis años, he visto un desalojo el lunes, and it's because the writ of possession, which is attached to that, is only valid for 6 months. Este papel nada más es válido por 6 meses, and that writ of possession was expiring, so they went out on a Monday. Se estaba venciendo, and because the sheriff is on the side of the landlord, sí, porque el alguacil está al lado del dueño, instead of making the landlord get a new one, en vez de forzarlos a obtener una nueva, they enforced on a Monday. Enforzaron el lunes. If you have a notice to vacate from the sheriff and I say, please send all 4 pages, si les pido las 4 páginas, it's these 4 pages. Son estas 4 páginas. This is page 1, which is the half page. Página 1 es la media página. Page 2, the writ of execution or writ of possession. La writ quiere decir la orden de regresar la posesión. Writ or order to return possession of the property to the owner. Es la orden para regresar la propiedad al dueño. We need this page because if they did not mark this box because they did something not quite right when they served you, si no pueden marcar esta caja, there's a very simple form that we can fill out to get more time. Hay un formulario fácil que podemos llenar si no hicieron este proceso bien, which is why we need that page. Okay, so send all 4 pages. Manden las 4 páginas. After they lock you out, they put this on the door. Después de que los echan, ponen esto en la puerta. And if you break in or go in, they also change the locks. Si cambian las chapas o entran with this on the door, you could be prosecuted for trespassing as either a misdemeanor or a felony. Los pueden prosecutar por traspaso y lo pueden hacer como felonía o como delito menor. So again, if right now, normalmente, if once you have a summons and complaint, we open a case. Ya que tienen una queja de desalojo, abrimos el caso. We don't have enough lawyers right now. We have too many open cases. Tenemos demasiados casos abiertos. So right now we are doing these, everyone is being helped through the webinars. Todos los estamos ayudando por medio de los webinars. people who are here because of harassment or illegal lockouts or utility terminations, las personas que están aquí porque están siendo hostigados o por bloqueos ilegales, if you identify yourself, I will do that part of the presentation because I couldn't tell whether any of those people came today. No puedo ver si vinieron, así es que si se identifican, podemos hacer esa parte de la presentación. Again, we're part of the Right to Counsel Coalition. We are not using this right now, but these are the webinars again. Aquí están los webinars de nuevo. And with that,